This might be the most important MacBook Apple has released in years, and it's not a Pro. Apple just announced the new MacBook Neo, starting at $599 or $499 with education pricing. And I generally think this could become Apple's best-selling MacBook. Not because it's powerful, not because it's flashy, but because it's finally more affordable. Right now, Apple's lineup looks like this. You have the MacBook Pro at the top, the MacBook Air in the middle, and now the MacBook Neo as your entry point. It's similar in size and feel to the Air, but it's been clearly trimmed down to hit that lower price point. Part of me feels like Apple should have just called this a MacBook because it really feels like what the default MacBook should be. Then the lineup would be the MacBook, MacBook Air, and the MacBook Pro. Clean and simple. That said, after spending a little bit more time with it, MacBook Neo has actually grown on me. It feels modern, a little bit more playful, and actually kind of fun. And I think that matters more than people realize. Powering the MacBook Neo is the A18 Pro chip. Yeah, that's the same chip from the iPhone 16 Pro models. Not an M-series chip, and I actually don't mind that. If anything, it's setting expectations right away. This isn't trying to be a MacBook Pro. It's not pretending to be something it's not. This is built for real everyday use. Browsing the web, emails, streaming, even some light creative work here and there. And that really ties into the memory and storage. You're getting 8 gigs of RAM and 250 gigabytes of storage on the base model, with the option to bump up storage up to 512 gigabytes for another $100. And with that upgrade, you also get Touch ID as a nice little bonus. Memory is locked at 8 gigabytes, which yeah, people are definitely going to have opinions about. I'm actually curious where you land on that. Is 8 gigabytes enough for what you do? Or is that a deal breaker? Let me know in the comments below. But for what this is meant to do, it actually makes sense. It keeps things running smooth for everyday tasks without pushing the price higher than it needs to be. At the end of the day, it handles what most people are doing on a MacBook, just at a way more approachable price. For that price, you're getting a 13-inch Liquid Retina display with 500 nits of brightness and support for 1 billion colors. For $599, that's really solid. This is the kind of screen that people are going to enjoy using every single day. Battery life is rated up to 16 hours, and that might very well be the best part. The MacBook Neo also comes with a 1080p camera, which is really all most people need for calls and classes. Dual mics, a headphone jack, which I'm glad is still here, and side-firing speakers with spatial audio and Dolby Atmos support, which should be solid for casual listening. Nothing crazy, just what you actually end up using every single day. Ports are simple too. 2 USB-C ports. One is USB-C 3 with faster transfer speeds. So if you're moving files around, that's the one you'll want to use. The other is a USB-C 2, slower and realistically more for charging. And that's pretty much it. No multi-display setups, no heavy pro workflows. But honestly, if you were looking at this MacBook, you probably weren't expecting that anyways. And that's really the point. It gives you what you need, cuts out what you don't, and keeps the price where it needs to be. So who's this actually for? Students for sure. K through 12, and even some college students. You're getting a premium build, strong battery life, reliable everyday performance, and access to Apple's ecosystem at a price that finally feels reasonable. This is the kind of laptop someone can use for years, like all throughout school. And at $499 with education pricing, that gets really hard to ignore. I also think that businesses are going to love this. If your day-to-day is mostly emails, docs, browsing tabs, meetings, this just makes sense. It has that premium feel without that MacBook Pro price tag. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being Apple's new bestseller. And actually, I didn't just pick this up to review it, I'm giving it to my daughter. Since she's homeschooled, this could easily carry her through the next several years. Researching, writing, projects, creative work, everything she needs. And that kind of brings me back to the beginning. This might just be the most important MacBook Apple has released in years. Not because it pushes performance forward, but because it lowers the barrier to entry in a real way. Now I'm curious, is this a hit or a miss? Is 8 gigabytes a deal breaker for you? Would you choose this over a MacBook Air? Let me know down below. Full review coming soon, and we might even get a guest appearance from my daughter to see what she thinks about her new MacBook Neo. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.